Okay, so my name is Monse Amador, and your name is?
So my name is Mireya Armijo.
Okay, then. And you are a...
So currently I am a full-time student at CSUB.
Okay.
I am going for my master's in social work.
Okay.
And I work part-time at a community healthcare clinic in Arvin.
Okay, then. Awesome. Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask you, what race do you consider yourself?
So I consider myself Mexican American. I am second generation Mexican American. So my grandparents were born and raised in Mexico, and my mother was born here in the U.S.
In the U.S.? Okay, then. So your mom was born and raised here, and so she's lived here her whole life?
Yes.
Okay, then. Okay. Do you think that race plays a big role in how we see each other?
I would say yes, in the sense of in today's society that we live in. I feel like there's a lot of racism, in the sense of just a lot of segregation.
Yeah.
I feel like segregation has always been a thing amongst the oppressed population, which us as the Hispanics, the Latinos.
Yeah, I'm minority. Yeah,
that's a minority group.
Yeah.
I feel like there is a strong negative perception amongst the minority.
Amongst us, right? It's like the negative stereotypes that portray us, like follow us. It's like we feel the need to work extra hard to prove ourselves, when other people don't have, are more privileged and don't seem. But I completely understand with that. Do you think that? Did you know that? I recently learned that the race is a social contrast. Like, it's not even an actual thing. There's no biological difference between us as humans, and it was just made upon by humans to divide us.
Oh.
But race isn't a real thing, so we just kept it all these years. But it's not a.
That's mind blowing, because I didn't know
that either.
Yeah.
It's something. Yeah, I know, right? And then because my professor was asking us, it's like, where did you learn race? And none of us could answer it, because we all kind of like just grew up like.
Because I feel like it's inherited.
Yeah,
like the way we grew up, social media,
yeah,
the way it's portrayed in today's society.
Yeah, so she was telling us, and none of us could like say like, oh, we learned it from this, and then she's like, yeah, she's like, it's so ingrained in us, like through generations and generation, that we just don't even question it anymore, and it's like, it's so weird, because of that, I feel like we are divided so much, because we put labels on amongst ourselves, and with that being said, like, do you think the negatives what negative stereotypes have you heard about our race or other races?
Well, there's many negative stereotypes, especially amongst those American people, or the white people.
Yeah, you can say it.
Yeah, so they do look down upon us, Hispanos, Latinos. I feel like here in the U.S. there's a lot of social injustice when it comes to the Hispanic race, Latino race, and not only just us, but those from other races, as well. I just feel that there's such a negative impact on us, that have you ever heard, oh, they're just coming here to steal our jobs, or oh, they're not educated, or oh, they're here and they're on the welfare system, and so forth. So I feel like there's just a lot of negativity when it comes amongst us minorities, and I just feel like it's just a reoccurring problem that just unfortunately won't go away.
Yeah, and it's true. It's very much true, especially here in Kern County. Like, if you notice it a lot, it's it like really affects. I was one of my classmates, they were asking her about because if they've ever seen like racism around, and she worked here in Bakersfield, and she was saying that when big families, like especially us Mexican families, show up, like they all fight of who to take over, because they don't want them, because they won't leave tips, and it's like this negative portrayal of us, because like when we go out, even though we're a big family, so Marcos loves to leave big tips, because it's like my kids, like, so it's like it saddens me to think that, oh, when I go to a restaurant, whether or not they're questioning like whether or not they want to serve us or not, and it's like so I understand like the stereotypes we face, because you hear that a lot, like, oh, they're coming over to steal our jobs, or they're coming over to get on the welfare system and things like that. And it's like, when in reality, if you educate yourself, they don't have any rights. Like, they can't go apply, they can't go get the welfare or the food stamps like people say they do. That's not how it works.
And I feel that you do mention a good thing. You do bring up a good thing, because I from personal experience, I consider myself to be hardworking. My husband and I, we're a family of 5, and we receive WIC, and I feel like it helps us with with providing basic necessities, as I work full time, and then I'm currently working part time, but through the school.
Yeah.
And my husband's our only sole provider, and with receiving WIC, I have felt situations where, like, when I'm at the store using my WIC card and there's someone behind me, I can just already feel that tension, like, oh, just another young mom, or, oh, like, she's using the system, oh, yeah, she's paying with WIC. Or I've heard smart comments like, oh, she's going to take a long time because she's using her WIC card. And so it's unfortunate that people do have that consumption. Oh, well, she's Hispanic, she's using WIC, so what else?
Yeah.
Like, what else is she using?
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunate that there's
and that's sad that you have to deal with that, because it's like, that's what the help is there for, it's for you need it, like you said yourself, you're a full-time student, you're doing your clinical hours, so it's not like your husband is the sole provider, so the help is there for you guys, and you shouldn't feel ashamed to use it. And I've heard of people like that, like, oh, I'm so scared to use my food stamp card because I don't want to deal with the faces and the looks, and it's like, that's really sad, because that's what you use to feed your family. And instead of being like, oh, I'm able to feed my family and be feeling some happiness towards it, you're feeling shame towards using those, that help, because you're a minority, and it's like, and I mean, I feel for you, because that is sad. Like, you shouldn't have to go through that. As a social worker, do you think institutional racism affects minorities? This is the policies and laws that help reproduce racial inequalities.
Yes, I feel that when it comes to the oppressed, like, population, I truly feel that there is a huge difference. For example, for just an example, like, let's say there's a Hispanic individual that gets pulled over for a DUI. Mm-hmm. And then there's another individual who's non-Hispanic or non-Latino, and they get pulled over for the same thing. Chances are the person of color is going to be the one to be incarcerated, is the one that isn't going to be let go immediately, is the one that's going to be charged with other aggressive charges, or added charges to their what is it? What do they call that? Like the crime to their. Like their booking and stuff, like their information, like
criminal charges.
Yeah, there you go, criminal charges. I can't think of that word, but yeah, criminal charges versus someone who's non-Hispanic. They sometimes immediately get released. However, I'm not saying that a DUI is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just using it as an example, because there have been many instances in media where you see a person of color where they do something that isn't great, get hard charges, versus someone who has committed the same crime get a slap in the hand.
Like that college student who was charged for rape, and he didn't do time because the judge said that it was going to affect his reputation, but he was white.
Yes.
Yes. So it's like, how does that differ from us? Because it's like, I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but like, he should have done time for that,
Or for example, school shootings.
Yeah.
I feel like the school shootings have been such a huge thing, and I mean, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's been a pattern. It has not been the person of color that has committed these intense, this intense crime with school shootings. And I feel like if that were someone a person of color, they'd be immediately taken down.
Yeah.
Versus with these situations where it's mental health.
Yeah.
And I do agree. Part of it is mental health.
Yeah.
Maybe there's underlying conditions that were never diagnosed. Maybe this person never received help, and I agree with that. However, due to those circumstances, I feel like for example, there's been many school shootings where you see law enforcement, they're taking a while. You see this person that's in the school shooting these kids, and they're taking a while to go in to shoot this individual because their strategy is like, let's talk this person down. But if it had been a person of color, they would have immediately been shot.
Yeah.
And I just think
I agree with that on you, because I do see it like in the Texas shooting where that guy was in there for like 27 minutes and then like they didn't even go in or nothing, and it's like these kids, you can just hear like that, and it's just a sad situation, because I do agree with you on that, because I feel like school shootings have been really like put under the rug a lot. Like they're just and I do agree, mental health does play a big role on it, but let's do something about it. Like, like because how many minorities have been shot over, I thought he had a gun. I thought he was resisting arrest, like over nothing. But like when it comes to, like you said, like when it comes to white people, it's like, let's talk down to them. Like, let's try to like calm the situation down.
Well, there was I'm not sure if you heard, but there was I want to say like a couple years ago, there's a Hispanic man, I believe in his 50s, dementia.
Here in Bakersfield, huh?
Yes. Dementia.
Uh-huh.
So immediately law enforcement shot him.
Yeah.
Shot him and thought were under the assumption that he was under the influence of a substance use, and didn't allow him the opportunity or time of day to de-escalate the situation. Yeah. As they're taught to, they immediately shot him, and they immediately shot him because they felt that this man was under substance use and felt that he was armed, or they felt threatened. Yeah. And in all reality, it was this man who has dementia, not orientated to current time or place. Yeah. And unfortunately lost his life
over that. Yeah, I did hear that, and that was heartbreaking, because exactly, instead of de-escalating the situation and actually finding out what was wrong with him, because that was a mental health situation, that was a situation where he needed medical help instead of instead it ended up so tragically, and it's sad for the family, because this is scary times for like us as minorities. Like, we have to watch our backs all the time, and it's scary because it's like, it's the whole concept of privilege that comes into play, like if you ask a white person, do you feel privileged, they will say no, but it's because they've never faced the struggles that we do. Like, us as minorities, like, they've never had the need to make sure that we're acting right, like we're not dressing a certain way, that like for me, my sons, I make sure that they don't look like gangsters. I make sure that they don't look, that they don't portray themselves in a certain way, because I don't want that negative stereotype following them, And I think us as minorities, like we overworked ourselves to like try to get away from it, but it still follows us, It's still like if you get pulled over by a cop, like they still have attitude towards us, like. Right. I think I was speeding and I got pulled over, and this cop had such a nasty attitude with me, like wouldn't even let me talk, wouldn't even let me communicate, and I told him straight out, I'm like, how do you expect to get things done if you're so angry all the time? Like, I'm like trying to talk to you, and like he made me cry over it, because I'm like, I'm trying to talk to you and you're just being so rude to me, and not like, because all you see is it's like this Mexican girl, and it's like, like, oh, now another one or something, and it's like, it gets irritating after a while, it's actually heartbreaking for me. But let's move along to the next question. Do you know what microaggression is?
Yes, and no, to some sort. Do you mind explaining?
So microaggression is like this concept, like this, just like where they say inappropriate comments that are considered racist or whatever.
Gotcha. Yes,
like
yes.
You as a social worker working, and like, have you ever dealt with it in your work?
Yes, all the time. Well, with individuals, amongst each other, within like community members, and even in the colleagues, people that you work with.
Can you give an example of something that you dealt with, like that really stood out to you? I have experience working with clients in the past where we provide like those one-on-one resources. I'm trying to like provide linkage and care for them. So I remember one time, and then I have always worked within the rural communities. Yeah. So I remember one time there was someone who was non-Hispanic that came into the office wanting to receive services, and
And mind you, these individuals were also on Medi-Cal. So they came in and they seen that I was Hispanic, and they requested to see if they can have someone non-Hispanic to provide them services to treat them, because
so they didn't even want to talk to you.
So they didn't even give me the time or chance, the time of day to even introduce myself or to say this is what I'm here. I'm here to provide you guys support and so forth, and they just requested somebody else that wasn't non-Hispanic. However, I mean, in our office we are full of Hispanics, so they weren't happy. Yeah. So they decided to leave.
So instead of getting the resources, that they rather wow.
So they decided to leave, and we were just very fathomed by the fact because our program at the time was designed to provide to provide people provide community resources to those that need help. And we were like, well, you guys are on. I mean, and from a personal opinion at the time, because you do have to be professional. But from my personal opinion, I'm like, well, you're also on Medi-Cal too, just like the person sitting in the waiting room is on Medi-Cal. Like, why do you feel that you're more superior versus the person
next to you
of color on Medi-Cal?
Yeah,
I mean, you're receiving community help.
Yeah,
but that was a perfect example, as they noticed that a bunch of us were predominantly all Hispanics, women, to be exact, and they didn't like it. They didn't like it, so we referred them out to another area that can provide them those resources that they needed.
It's kind of sad how much racism is still like so embedded in our community, especially during these times. It's like 2023. Like, get it together, But it's like, I feel you, because like how do you say? I've had people like tell me like, oh, you're going to school and you have 5 kids. Like, it's like a shock, which it is, it's a shock, but it's like, you actually talk really good English, and it's like English is my or like you're really like articulate, like you're well put together, and it's like, what do you mean by that? Like what? How am I supposed to be? So it's just I mean, I get what you're saying about people just not seeing the person and just automatically seeing
or a personal example. I mean, I am 30 years old, so when I got pregnant with my firstborn, I was 18, but I was an 18-year-old, but a senior in high school at the time, and I received that microaggression, like, she ruined her life, or she's not gonna amount to anything or do greater things.
Especially in your shoes, because in high school and all that, like you have everything, like all your, like that, definitely in high school.
And in that sense, like, or go to college or do anything, or just another pregnant girl, another pregnant person in high school, and so it's unfortunate that people do have that perception of certain individuals.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, I think we're gonna end it here because it's already 17 minutes. But I'm proud of you. You've gone a long way, and like you're somebody I really aspire to. You're like the main reason I ended up going back to school. So it's like, keep up the good work, because you're part of that 4%, girl, and you're gonna make it. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.